Men are moved by two levers only: fear and self-interest. Napoleon Bonaparte. Most people believe conversations are simply about exchanging information. They think that if they're honest and articulate, they'll be understood and respected. They play by a set of rules that don't actually exist in the real world. This naive approach leaves them vulnerable, like a pawn on a chessboard, easily manipulated and unaware of the forces controlling their every move. We're here to show you the truth. Every interaction is a game, a subtle dance of power and influence where the skilled player always wins. Forget the idea of innocent communication. Understand that beneath the surface of polite exchanges and friendly smiles lies a complex web of strategies, hidden agendas, and unspoken dominance plays. You've been told that sincerity is enough, that being yourself is always the best strategy. We say that's a beautiful lie designed to keep you compliant and easily controlled. We're going to equip you with the tools to see through the facade, to recognize the subtle cues and manipulations that others use to gain an advantage. You'll learn to decode their hidden game, and more importantly, to play your own game with skill and precision. It's time to stop being a passive participant and become an active strategist in the social arena. It's time to learn the rules they don't want you to know. It's time to take control. The first step in mastering this game is understanding the psychology behind it, the driving forces that motivate people to engage in these subtle power plays. It's not about labeling everyone as a Machiavellian manipulator, but about recognizing the fundamental human desires that fuel these behaviors. We all crave status, approval, and control over our environment, and these desires often manifest in subtle attempts to gain an advantage in social interactions. Think about it. The need to feel important, to be respected, to have your opinions valued, these are deeply ingrained in our psyche. And when these needs aren't being met, people often resort to indirect methods to compensate, to subtly elevate themselves or diminish others. This is where the game begins. Consider the person who constantly interrupts others, not necessarily out of malice, but from a deep-seated need to be heard, to assert their presence and importance in the group. Or the one who subtly undermines your accomplishments with backhanded compliments, driven by their own insecurities and a desire to diminish your shine. These aren't always conscious decisions, but rather instinctive reactions rooted in the primal need to secure their position in the social hierarchy. To truly decode their hidden game, you need to develop a keen awareness of these underlying motivations. Learn to see past the surface level of words and actions and look deeper into the psychological drivers behind them. Ask yourself, what is this person really trying to achieve? What needs are they trying to fulfill? What insecurities are they trying to mask? By understanding the why behind their behavior, you can begin to anticipate their moves and develop effective strategies to counter them. This understanding also extends to yourself. You must be brutally honest about your own motivations and insecurities. What are your own blind spots? What triggers your emotional responses? What needs are you unconsciously trying to fulfill in your interactions with others? Self-awareness is the foundation of effective frame control. You can't hope to master the game if you're not even aware that you're playing it yourself. Many of us operate on autopilot, reacting to social cues and pressures without conscious thought. We're driven by ingrained habits and emotional responses that leave us vulnerable to manipulation. To break free from this pattern, you need to cultivate a state of constant awareness, a mindful presence that allows you to observe your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in real time. This means paying attention to your body language, your tone of voice, and the subtle shifts in your emotional state as you interact with others. Are you feeling defensive, anxious, eager to please? These emotions are signals that the game is afoot and that your frame is being challenged. By recognizing these signals early on, you can take proactive steps to regain control and steer the interaction in your favor. This isn't about suppressing your emotions, but about understanding them and using them as valuable sources of information. Instead of reacting impulsively, you can pause, analyze the situation, and choose a more strategic response. The ultimate goal is to develop a detached perspective, to observe the game as a chess master observes the board, seeing all the pieces and their potential moves without becoming emotionally invested in the outcome. This requires discipline and practice, but the rewards are immense. You'll gain a newfound sense of clarity and control in your social interactions, and you'll become immune to the manipulations that once held you captive. You'll gain the ability to play the game, and to play it well on your own terms. This awareness must be constant, a vigilant mindset ready to interpret every social interaction as a strategic dance. Imagine this scenario. You're at a business conference, surrounded by ambitious professionals vying for recognition and opportunity. You find yourself in a conversation with a senior executive, a person whose influence could significantly impact your career trajectory. At first, the interaction seems pleasant enough, filled with polite inquiries and shared anecdotes. But beneath the surface of cordiality, a subtle power play is unfolding. The executive begins to subtly diminish your accomplishments, casually mentioning the achievements of others in your field while glossing over your own contributions. He asks leading questions designed to highlight any perceived weaknesses in your experience or expertise. He interrupts you frequently, cutting you off mid-sentence and steering the conversation back to his own areas of interest. Each of these tactics, seemingly innocuous on their own, serves a calculated purpose: to undermine your confidence, establish his dominance, and position himself as the superior figure in the exchange. The executive might employ a technique known as negging, offering backhanded compliments or teasing remarks designed to lower your self-esteem and make you seek his approval. He might also use the foot-in-the-door technique, starting with small requests or concessions and gradually escalating to larger demands. He might subtly mimic your body language, creating a false sense of rapport while simultaneously analyzing your reactions. This seemingly harmless mirroring can be a powerful tool for gauging your vulnerabilities and manipulating your emotions. Pay close attention to the unspoken cues, the micro-expressions that flicker across his face, the subtle shifts in his posture, the tone of his voice. These nonverbal signals often betray the true intent behind his words, revealing the hidden agenda that drives his behavior. He might attempt to create a sense of urgency, pressuring you to make decisions or commitments before you've had time to fully consider the implications. He might appeal to your emotions, using guilt, shame, or fear to manipulate your choices. He might even resort to outright deception, fabricating stories or distorting facts to gain an advantage. The objective is always the same: to gain control of the interaction and steer it in a direction that benefits him, often at your expense. He's testing your boundaries, probing for weaknesses, and assessing your willingness to comply. He's watching your every move, analyzing your responses, and adjusting his strategy accordingly. He might shift seamlessly between flattery and criticism, keeping you off balance and unsure of where you stand. He's creating a dynamic of psychological manipulation, subtly coercing you into playing a role that serves his purposes. The executive is not necessarily a malicious individual, but rather someone who has learned to navigate the social landscape through strategic manipulation. He may not even be consciously aware of the tactics he employs, but they are nonetheless effective in achieving his desired outcome. He's been conditioned to respond to interactions as a game, a relentless pursuit for positional advantage. This is not merely a conversation, but a calculated maneuver in a ruthless game of social chess, and the stakes are far higher than you might initially realize. The trap lies in underestimating the game, in believing that genuine connection and honest communication are always the default. It's a comfortable assumption, one that most people cling to because the alternative, a world of constant calculation and strategic maneuvering, is unsettling and exhausting to contemplate. The trap is believing that because you aren't operating with ulterior motives, neither is the person across from you. It's a naive trust, a vulnerability that can be easily exploited by those who understand the hidden rules of social engagement. The trap is reacting emotionally instead of strategically. When someone pushes your buttons, provokes you with a subtle insult, or attempts to guilt-trip you, your immediate response is likely to be defensive, angry, or hurt. These emotional reactions are precisely what the manipulator is aiming for. They cloud your judgment, make you predictable, and give him leverage. The trap is failing to recognize the patterns, the telltale signs of manipulation. The subtle shifts in tone, the carefully crafted questions, the calculated displays of vulnerability. These are all indicators that something more complex is at play. By dismissing them as mere quirks of personality or fleeting emotional states, you miss the opportunity to defend yourself and regain control of the situation. The trap is prioritizing politeness over self-preservation. We are often taught to be agreeable, to avoid confrontation, to prioritize the feelings of others above our own. While these are valuable social skills in many contexts, they can become liabilities when dealing with a skilled manipulator. The trap is being too eager to please, too willing to accommodate, too afraid of causing offense. The manipulator will exploit this desire for approval, using it to steer you into making concessions that are not in your best interest. The trap is falling for the illusion of reciprocity. The manipulator might offer you a small favor, share a personal anecdote, or express a superficial interest in your life. These seemingly generous gestures are often designed to create a sense of obligation, to make you feel compelled to reciprocate in kind. However, the scale of the reciprocity is almost always skewed in the manipulator's favor. He gives a little and expects to receive much more in return. The trap is engaging on his terms, playing by his rules. He's already established the framework of the interaction, defining the roles and setting the boundaries. By accepting this framework without question, you're ceding control of the narrative. The trap is failing to recognize that you have the power to disengage, to walk away, to refuse to participate in his game. He is counting on your need for social validation, your fear of conflict, your desire to be liked. The trap is forgetting that you are not obligated to meet his expectations, to fulfill his demands, or to play the role he has assigned to you. He gains power from your compliance and loses it the moment you assert your own agency. The trap is staying silent when you should speak up, agreeing when you should disagree, and compromising when you should stand your ground. He's betting on your inner monologue, the self-doubt and the fear of judgment. The trap is doubting your instincts. If something feels off, if you sense that you are being manipulated, trust your intuition. It's often the first line of defense against deception. Question his motives, challenge his assumptions, and refuse to be swayed by his rhetoric. The trap is believing that you can change him, that you can reason with him, or that you can appeal to his better nature. He is unlikely to be swayed by logic or empathy, as his primary motivation is to gain and maintain control. Focus on protecting yourself, setting clear boundaries, and refusing to engage in his manipulative tactics. The trap is forgetting that you have options. You don't have to play his game. You can change the rules, redefine the terms of engagement, or simply walk away. The power to control your own destiny lies within you, and it is yours to wield as you see fit. The ultimate trap is losing sight of your own values, your own goals, and your own self-worth. He wants you to second-guess everything. He wants you to believe his version of reality, to accept his judgments, and to abandon your own aspirations. Remember who you are, what you stand for, and what you deserve. He cannot take that from you unless you allow him to. To truly decode their hidden game, you must adopt a Machiavellian approach. This isn't about becoming a villain, but about understanding the underlying strategies at play. It's about recognizing that many interactions are, in fact, strategic maneuvers designed to influence your behavior and achieve a desired outcome. The first step is to strip away the emotional layers and analyze the situation with cold, detached logic. Observe their actions, their words, and their body language as if you were studying a complex puzzle. Look for patterns, inconsistencies, and hidden agendas. Ask yourself, what are they really trying to achieve? What are their motivations? What are their vulnerabilities? Once you have a clear understanding of their objectives, you can begin to anticipate their moves and develop a counter-strategy. This requires a deep understanding of human psychology, particularly the principles of influence and persuasion. Learn how to identify and exploit their weaknesses while simultaneously protecting your own. Master the art of framing, which involves shaping the narrative to your advantage. Control the flow of information, highlight the aspects that support your position, and downplay those that don't. Be prepared to use deception if necessary, but always do so with caution and calculated risk. Remember that the goal is not to win at all costs, but to achieve your objectives while minimizing the damage to yourself and others. The Machiavellian approach also requires a certain level of ruthlessness. Be willing to make difficult decisions, even if they are unpopular or morally ambiguous. Don't be afraid to hurt their feelings or challenge their beliefs if it serves your purpose, but always be mindful of the consequences of your actions and be prepared to accept responsibility for them. Furthermore, cultivate a network of allies who can support you in your endeavors. These allies can provide valuable information, resources, and assistance. Choose your allies carefully and be sure to reciprocate their loyalty, but never fully trust anyone, as even your closest allies may have their own hidden agendas. Always be vigilant, always be skeptical, and always be prepared for betrayal. Learn to project an image of strength and confidence, even when you are feeling vulnerable or uncertain. People are more likely to respect and follow someone who appears to be in control. Avoid displaying signs of weakness or insecurity, as this will only embolden your opponents. Practice maintaining a calm and composed demeanor, even in stressful situations. Control your emotions and never let them dictate your actions. Think before you speak and choose your words carefully. Every word you utter can be used against you. Therefore, it is essential to master the art of strategic communication. Learn to communicate clearly, concisely, and persuasively. Avoid ambiguity and vagueness, as these can be easily misinterpreted. Use rhetoric to your advantage and learn to craft arguments that are both logical and emotionally appealing. Master the art of active listening, which involves paying close attention to what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally. This will allow you to gain valuable insights into their thoughts, feelings, and motivations. Use this information to your advantage and tailor your response accordingly. Be adaptable and flexible, and be prepared to change your strategy if necessary. The situation is constantly evolving, and you must be able to adapt to changing circumstances. Don't be afraid to experiment with new tactics and learn from your mistakes. The Machiavellian approach is not a fixed set of rules, but rather a set of principles that can be adapted to any situation. Always remember that the ultimate goal is to achieve your objectives while maintaining your integrity and preserving your relationships. Don't let the pursuit of power corrupt you or compromise your values. Use your knowledge and skills responsibly, and always strive to make the world a better place. Develop a keen sense of observation. Pay attention to the subtle cues and nuances in human behavior. Observe how people interact with each other, how they respond to different situations, and how they attempt to manipulate others. The more you observe, the more you will learn about the hidden dynamics of social interaction. Hone your intuition. Trust your gut feelings and hunches. Your intuition is often more accurate than your conscious mind, especially in situations where there is a lot of uncertainty or ambiguity. Learn to listen to your inner voice and don't dismiss it without careful consideration. Develop a strong sense of self-awareness. Understand your own strengths, weaknesses, motivations, and biases. The more you know about yourself, the better you will be able to understand others. Be honest with yourself about your own flaws and limitations, and strive to improve yourself continuously. Cultivate a sense of detachment. Learn to observe situations from a distance without getting emotionally involved. This will allow you to see things more clearly and objectively. Avoid getting caught up in the drama or the emotions of others. Maintain your composure and your objectivity and always focus on your goals. Be patient and persistent. The Machiavellian approach is not a quick fix, but rather a long-term strategy. It takes time and effort to master the skills and techniques required. Don't get discouraged if you don't see results immediately. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep refining your approach. Over time, you will become more skilled and more effective in your interactions with others. Learn the art of deception. Understand how people lie, cheat, and manipulate. Study the techniques they use and learn how to detect them. Be prepared to use deception yourself if necessary, but always do so with caution and calculated risk. Remember that deception is a powerful tool, but it can also be dangerous. Use it wisely and only when it is absolutely necessary. Be willing to take risks. The Machiavellian approach is not for the faint of heart. It requires you to be bold, assertive, and willing to take risks. Don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and challenge the status quo. Be willing to make mistakes and learn from them. The only way to truly master the art of social interaction is to put yourself out there and take risks. Develop a thick skin. People will criticize you, judge you, and try to tear you down. Don't let their negativity affect you. Learn to ignore the haters and focus on your goals. Surround yourself with positive and supportive people who believe in you. Be resilient and persistent and never give up on your dreams. Understand power dynamics. Recognize who holds the power in any given situation and how that power is being used. Learn how to navigate power structures and how to influence those who hold power. Be aware of your own power and how you can use it to achieve your goals. Never underestimate the importance of power and always be mindful of how it is being wielded around you. Study history and literature. Learn from the successes and failures of others. Read biographies of great leaders and strategists and study the works of classic authors who have written about power, politics, and human nature. The more you learn about the past, the better you will be able to understand the present and to anticipate the future. Cultivate a network of informants. Gather information from a variety of sources, both overt and covert. Be curious, inquisitive, and always on the lookout for new information. The more information you have, the better equipped you will be to make informed decisions and to anticipate the moves of your opponents. Learn to read body language. Pay attention to the nonverbal cues that people give off, such as their facial expressions, their gestures, and their posture. These cues can often reveal more about their true thoughts and feelings than their words. Master the art of nonverbal communication and use it to your advantage. Develop your emotional intelligence. Understand your own emotions and the emotions of others. Learn how to manage your emotions effectively and how to use them to your advantage. Be empathetic, compassionate, and understanding. But don't let your emotions cloud your judgment or compromise your goals. The Machiavellian approach is not about being heartless, but about being emotionally intelligent. Focus on long-term goals. Don't get bogged down in short-term distractions or immediate gratification. Always keep your eye on the prize and make decisions that will benefit you in the long run. Be patient, disciplined, and focused on your objectives. The Machiavellian approach is not about instant success, but about long-term strategic advantage. Protect your reputation. Your reputation is one of your most valuable assets. Guard it carefully and don't do anything that could damage it. Be honest, ethical, and trustworthy. But also be shrewd, cunning, and resourceful. The Machiavellian approach is not about being immoral, but about being pragmatic. Be willing to make compromises. The world is not always black and white. There are often shades of gray. Be willing to compromise on your goals if necessary in order to achieve a greater good, but never compromise on your values or your principles. The Machiavellian approach is not about being spineless, but about being flexible. Always be prepared for the unexpected. Life is full of surprises. Be adaptable, resilient, and resourceful. Don't let setbacks discourage you. Learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. The Machiavellian approach is not about avoiding adversity, but about overcoming it. Understand the principles of game theory. Game theory is a mathematical framework for analyzing strategic interactions. Learn the basic concepts of game theory, such as Nash equilibrium, prisoner's dilemma, and zero-sum game. Use these concepts to analyze social situations and to predict the behavior of others. The Machiavellian approach is not about gambling, but about making informed decisions based on sound reasoning. Never stop learning. The world is constantly changing. Be curious, inquisitive, and always on the lookout for new information. Read books, attend seminars, and network with other people. The more you learn, the better equipped you will be to navigate the complexities of social interaction. The Machiavellian approach is not about being stagnant, but about constantly evolving and improving. Be authentic, be yourself. Don't try to be someone you're not. People can spot a fake a mile away. Be genuine, sincere, and true to your values. The Machiavellian approach is not about being dishonest, but about being strategic. Ultimately, the Machiavellian approach is about understanding human nature and using that understanding to achieve your goals. It's about being aware of the hidden dynamics of social interaction and about being able to navigate those dynamics effectively. It's about being strategic, resourceful, and resilient. And it's about using your power wisely and responsibly. Consider empires throughout history, vast power structures built not merely on brute force, but on a deep understanding of human motivation and the strategic landscape. Look at the Roman Empire, its expansion fueled by sophisticated engineering, but also by a keen understanding of how to assimilate conquered peoples, offering them citizenship and a stake in the empire's success. They built roads and aqueducts, not just to move armies and supply water, but to demonstrate their power and their commitment to the well-being of their subjects, binding them to Rome through tangible benefits and a shared sense of belonging. This wasn't simply about conquest. It was about crafting a narrative, a compelling story that made Roman rule seem inevitable and even desirable. Think of the Pax Romana, a period of relative peace and prosperity that solidified Roman dominance for centuries. This peace wasn't accidental. It was the result of carefully calculated strategies, alliances forged and broken, and a constant vigilance against potential threats. The Romans understood that maintaining power required not only military strength, but also economic stability and social cohesion. They invested in infrastructure, trade, and the arts, creating a society that was both prosperous and culturally vibrant, making it a model for other civilizations to emulate. This understanding of human nature, this ability to manipulate perceptions and incentives, is a key element of Machiavellian thinking. Contrast this with empires that relied solely on military might, empires that failed to understand the importance of winning hearts and minds. The Mongol Empire, for example, was a force of unparalleled military power, conquering vast territories with ruthless efficiency. However, their rule was often characterized by brutality and exploitation, leading to resentment and rebellion among the conquered populations. They failed to integrate these populations into their empire, to offer them a reason to support Mongol rule. Consequently, the Mongol Empire, despite its initial success, fragmented relatively quickly, unable to sustain its dominance over the long term. This illustrates the limitations of relying solely on coercion. True power requires a deeper understanding of human motivation and the ability to create systems that benefit both the ruler and the ruled. The Mongols lacked the sophistication, the nuanced understanding of power dynamics that characterized the Romans. Consider the art of warfare, not just as a clash of armies, but as a complex game of strategy and deception. Sun Tzu, in his Art of War, emphasizes the importance of knowing your enemy and knowing yourself. This knowledge is not merely about military capabilities. It's about understanding your enemy's psychology, their motivations, their strengths and weaknesses. A skilled commander can exploit these weaknesses, using deception and manipulation to gain an advantage. He can create illusions of strength where there is weakness, and illusions of weakness where there is strength, confusing the enemy and leading them into traps. This is not simply about physical combat. It's about a battle of wits, a psychological game where the ultimate goal is to break the enemy's will to fight. Think of the Trojan horse, a classic example of deception in warfare. The Greeks, unable to breach the walls of Troy through conventional means, devised a clever plan to infiltrate the city by posing as defeated enemies. They left a large wooden horse as a supposed gift, concealing soldiers inside. The Trojans, believing the Greeks had given up, brought the horse inside their city walls, unknowingly sealing their own doom. This act of deception was not merely a trick. It was a carefully calculated maneuver that exploited the Trojans' pride and their desire to believe the war was over. It demonstrates the power of understanding your enemy's psychology and using that understanding to manipulate them into making fatal mistakes. Similarly, in social interactions, understanding the motivations and vulnerabilities of others is crucial for navigating complex situations and achieving your goals. Just as a general studies the terrain before a battle, you must analyze the social landscape, identifying the key players, their relationships, and their agendas. You must be able to read between the lines to detect hidden motives and unspoken desires. This requires a keen sense of observation, an ability to listen attentively, and a willingness to question assumptions. By understanding the underlying dynamics of a social situation, you can position yourself strategically, anticipate potential challenges, and influence the outcome in your favor. It's about seeing the game that others don't even realize they're playing and using that knowledge to your advantage. The historical examples of empires and warfare are not merely abstract lessons. They are reflections of fundamental human behavior, patterns that repeat themselves in different contexts. Understanding these patterns is the key to unlocking the secrets of social power. The human mind is a labyrinth of biases, insecurities, and aspirations, a landscape as complex and treacherous as any battlefield. To effectively decode the hidden game, you must delve into the psychology that drives people's actions. Every individual operates under a set of core beliefs, often formed in childhood, that shape their perceptions and reactions. These beliefs act as filters, influencing how they interpret information and how they respond to external stimuli. Understanding these filters is critical because it allows you to predict their behavior and tailor your approach accordingly. For example, someone with a deep-seated need for approval will be highly susceptible to flattery and validation, while someone driven by a fear of failure will avoid risks and seek constant reassurance. By identifying these underlying needs and fears, you can gain a significant advantage in any interaction. Furthermore, people are rarely aware of the true motivations behind their actions. They often rationalize their behavior, constructing narratives that justify their choices and protect their self-image. This is where the skill of manipulation detection comes into play. You must learn to look beyond the surface, to discern the underlying desires and insecurities that are driving their decisions. Pay attention to inconsistencies between their words and their actions, and be wary of overly elaborate explanations. Often, the truth lies hidden beneath layers of self-deception and social conditioning. The key is to become a master of observation, noticing the subtle cues and microexpressions that betray their true feelings. A slight hesitation, a fleeting flicker of the eyes, or a subtle change in tone can reveal volumes about their inner state. Another crucial aspect of understanding the psychology of the game is recognizing the power of cognitive biases. These are mental shortcuts that our brains use to simplify complex information, but they can also lead to systematic errors in judgment. For example, the confirmation bias leads people to seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs, while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. The anchoring bias causes people to rely too heavily on the first piece of information they receive, even if it's irrelevant or misleading. And the halo effect causes people to generalize positive impressions from one area to another, so that a person who is attractive or charismatic is automatically assumed to be intelligent and trustworthy. By understanding these biases, you can anticipate how others are likely to think and react, and you can use this knowledge to your advantage. Moreover, the dynamics of social interaction are heavily influenced by the concepts of status and power. People are constantly jockeying for position, seeking to increase their influence and control over others. This can manifest in subtle ways, such as interrupting someone during a conversation, dominating the discussion, or using nonverbal cues to assert dominance. Understanding these power dynamics is essential for navigating social situations effectively. You must be aware of your own status and how it compares to that of others, and you must be able to recognize and respond to attempts to undermine your authority. Frame control, the ability to define the terms of the interaction and to shape the perception of reality, is a key tool for maintaining and increasing your power. By controlling the narrative, you can influence how others think and feel, and you can steer the interaction in a direction that benefits you. Finally, it's important to remember that everyone is playing their own game, driven by their own unique set of motivations and insecurities. To truly master the art of social strategy, you must develop a deep understanding of human nature, an ability to empathize with others, and a willingness to question your own assumptions. It's about seeing the world through their eyes, understanding their fears and aspirations, and using that knowledge to build rapport and influence their decisions. This is not about manipulation in the negative sense, but rather about understanding the underlying dynamics of human interaction and using that understanding to achieve your goals in a way that is ethical and mutually beneficial. It's about becoming a master strategist, a keen observer of human behavior, and a skilled negotiator who can navigate the complexities of the social world with grace and effectiveness. The true power lies not in brute force or coercion, but in the ability to understand and influence the minds of others. Let's consider a scenario that illustrates these principles in action, a seemingly innocuous office meeting where subtle power plays unfold beneath the surface of polite conversation. Imagine a project team gathered to discuss the upcoming marketing campaign. Sarah, the team lead, opens the meeting with a summary of the project goals, laying out the key objectives and timelines. However, David, a senior member of the team with a history of challenging Sarah's authority, immediately interjects with a series of questions that seem designed to undermine her plan. He doesn't directly disagree, but rather uses subtle jabs disguised as inquiries to sow doubt and create uncertainty. He questions the feasibility of the proposed timeline, suggests that the budget is insufficient, and hints that the target audience may not be receptive to the proposed messaging. Each question is carefully crafted to chip away at Sarah's credibility and assert his own dominance within the group. Sarah, recognizing the underlying power play, understands that she needs to address David's challenge directly without escalating the conflict. She acknowledges his concerns, but reframes them in a way that reinforces her authority. Instead of getting defensive, she thanks David for his input and explains her rationale behind the decisions, highlighting the research and data that support her approach. She emphasizes that the timeline is aggressive but achievable, the budget is tight but manageable, and the target audience has been carefully analyzed. She uses her communication skills to persuade the rest of the team that her plan is sound and that she is confident in her ability to deliver results. Meanwhile, another team member, Emily, observes the interaction between Sarah and David and recognizes the subtle power dynamics at play. She sees that David is attempting to assert his dominance and that Sarah is responding effectively by maintaining her composure and defending her plan. Emily decides to support Sarah by offering her own insights and suggestions, which reinforce Sarah's position and help to build consensus within the group. She compliments Sarah's leadership and highlights the strengths of the proposed marketing campaign. Emily's support serves to neutralize David's challenge and to solidify Sarah's authority. Throughout the meeting, other team members also engage in subtle power plays, either consciously or unconsciously. Some may align themselves with David in an attempt to gain his favor, while others may remain neutral, observing the interaction and waiting to see which way the wind blows. The seating arrangement itself can also be a factor, with those sitting closer to the head of the table wielding more perceived influence. The language used, the tone of voice, the body language, all contribute to the overall power dynamics of the meeting. A raised eyebrow, a sarcastic comment, a dismissive gesture can all be used to subtly undermine or assert authority. The key is to be aware of these dynamics and to respond accordingly. Sarah understands that she needs to maintain control of the narrative and to prevent David from derailing the meeting. She uses her communication skills to steer the conversation back on track, to keep the focus on the project goals, and to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to contribute their ideas. She also makes sure to acknowledge the contributions of each team member, to build rapport, and to foster a sense of collaboration. By the end of the meeting, Sarah has successfully navigated the subtle power plays and has maintained her authority as the team lead. She has addressed David's concerns, built consensus within the group, and set a clear direction for the upcoming marketing campaign. The meeting serves as a microcosm of the broader social dynamics that play out in everyday life, where individuals are constantly vying for power and influence, often in subtle and unconscious ways. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for success in any social setting, whether it's an office meeting, a family gathering, or a negotiation with a client. It's about being aware of the invisible game that is being played and having the skills and strategies to navigate it effectively. To be a master of social strategy means to be constantly observant, always analyzing, and ever adapting. The social landscape is a constantly shifting terrain, and those who remain static will quickly be left behind. This requires a commitment to lifelong learning and a willingness to challenge one's own assumptions. Ultimately, it's about building genuine connections with others, fostering mutual respect, and creating a win-win situation for all involved. It's not about manipulation or exploitation, but rather about understanding the underlying dynamics of human interaction and using that understanding to achieve your goals in a way that is ethical and sustainable. This approach ensures long-term success and a reputation built on integrity and trust. The mastery of social dynamics extends beyond simply recognizing power plays and frame control. It's about internalizing these principles to the point where they become second nature, an intuitive understanding that guides your every interaction. Think of it as learning a martial art. Initially, you consciously execute each move, but with practice, the movements become ingrained in your muscle memory, allowing you to react instinctively to any situation. Similarly, the social strategist trains their mind to anticipate, adapt, and influence, all while maintaining a sense of authenticity and genuine connection. This level of mastery requires a deep understanding of human psychology, including the motivations, fears, and desires that drive people's actions. It involves cultivating empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, not just as a means of manipulation, but as a genuine expression of human connection. By understanding what truly motivates others, you can tailor your approach to resonate with their values and build strong, lasting relationships. This approach is far more effective than simply relying on tactics and strategies, which can be easily detected and resisted. True influence comes from creating a sense of trust and rapport, making others feel understood and valued. The ability to frame situations to your advantage is crucial in shaping perceptions and guiding decisions. Framing is the art of presenting information in a way that influences how it is interpreted. By carefully selecting the language you use, the examples you provide, and the perspective you emphasize, you can shape the narrative to align with your goals. However, ethical considerations are paramount. While framing can be a powerful tool, it should never be used to deceive or manipulate others. The goal is to present your perspective in a compelling way, while still remaining true to the facts. Think of a skilled lawyer presenting a case to a jury. They are not necessarily distorting the truth, but they are carefully selecting and framing the evidence to support their argument. The same principles apply in everyday social interactions. Every conversation is a negotiation, a subtle dance of influence and persuasion. By understanding the underlying dynamics of these interactions, you can navigate them with greater confidence and achieve your desired outcomes. This requires a constant awareness of your own frame and the frames of those around you. Are you allowing yourself to be influenced by others, or are you actively shaping the conversation to your advantage? Are you being authentic and genuine, or are you simply playing a role? The answers to these questions will determine your level of success in the social arena. Remember that power is not a finite resource. It's not a zero-sum game where one person's gain is another's loss. True power comes from empowering others, from creating a sense of shared purpose and mutual benefit. By focusing on building strong relationships and fostering collaboration, you can create a network of influence that extends far beyond your individual capabilities. This is the essence of true leadership, the ability to inspire and motivate others to achieve a common goal. This also involves cultivating resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and failures. Not every social interaction will go as planned. You will encounter resistance, opposition, and even outright hostility. The key is to learn from these experiences, adapt your approach, and keep moving forward. Don't take criticism personally. Instead, view it as an opportunity for growth and improvement. The social landscape is a constantly evolving environment, and those who are unwilling to adapt will quickly be left behind. The most effective social strategists are those who are constantly learning, experimenting, and refining their skills. They are not afraid to take risks, to challenge the status quo, and to push the boundaries of what is possible. This requires a commitment to self-awareness, a deep understanding of your own strengths, weaknesses, and biases. Are you aware of your own nonverbal cues, the subtle signals you are sending to others through your body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions? Are you able to control your emotions, even in stressful situations? Are you aware of your own blind spots, the areas where you may be unconsciously sabotaging your own efforts? By developing a greater understanding of yourself, you can become more effective in your interactions with others. This also involves cultivating a sense of detachment, the ability to observe social dynamics without becoming emotionally invested. This allows you to see the situation more clearly and make more rational decisions. It's like watching a chess game from above. You can see the entire board and anticipate the moves of your opponents without being caught up in the heat of the moment. Detachment does not mean being cold or uncaring. It simply means maintaining a sense of perspective and objectivity. The ultimate goal of the social strategist is not simply to win every interaction, but to create a positive and lasting impact on the world. This requires a commitment to ethical behavior, to treating others with respect and dignity, and to using your influence for good. By focusing on creating win-win situations, you can build strong relationships, foster collaboration, and achieve your goals in a way that is both sustainable and fulfilling. Remember that your reputation is your most valuable asset. Protect it at all costs. Be known for your integrity, your honesty, and your commitment to doing the right thing. This will earn you the trust and respect of others, which is far more valuable than any short-term gain. The social landscape is a complex and dynamic environment, but by understanding the underlying principles and cultivating the necessary skills, you can navigate it with confidence and achieve your desired outcomes. To become a true master of social